Okay, so today's class is Pitch Perfect, develop and refine your pitch. The idea here is it's a little focused on the startup weekend and how to pitch an idea, but the same criteria that we're going to go through can also be used for pitching an organization or telling people what you do, or going as far as getting in front of venture capital and asking for money. So this is a good introductory course on how to do this. My personal opinion about pitching is the more classes you take, the more different perspectives you hear of people, how they do it, the way you can develop your own voice. It's very important to have your own voice, not somebody else's. So take as many of these types of classes as you can, and as you develop your pitch, refine, 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 practice, practice, practice. Those are two, what I would call pro tips for you. Okay, so let's talk about introductions. I'll start about me. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've co-founded and led software startups and small businesses. I'm also an operations expert because I started a small business, and as we all know, small businesses have very limited budgets. I had to learn everything that my partner didn't want to do. So that was, and I was the kind of an expert on accounting and finance. So I did those types of things. And so again, down the road, if you have any questions about that, I'm going to be helping out at the CIE. And so, you know, let me know. I'll be happy to help. Because as you can see, the third thing on my list is I'm a mentor. I love working with startups, helping with pitching, fundraising, strategy, product design. I mean, I've worn many, many hats. And if you're at all entrepreneurial, you know what it's like. You got to wear a lot of hats to make yourself succeed. Just briefly before we move on to Curtis's, Max couldn't have said it better. Whether you're even an entrepreneur, you're pitching constantly. If you're looking for a job, you're pitching yourself. So really, pitching is just another word for sales. I guess sales got an ugly name somewhere in the 90s, and so we changed it to pitch, but it's the same idea. It's the same idea as to garner interest and excitement around a topic, an organization, a program you're working on, and so forth. So time to get started. Thank you all for joining us today. What we're going to be going over is 3 versions of the pitch: the bar pitch, the elevator pitch, the pitch. And then we're going to really go over what I would call the pro tips and tricks. Any of you who have done pitching, if you have something that somebody else has said or another class, Kristen, of course, feel free to jump in. The more pro tips and tricks you can learn or pick up, the better you will be. So I don't figure I'm the only one who knows all the tips and tricks. So if you've heard of something else, as we go through, if something occurs to you, whatever you contribute may help others down the road. Okay, so the idea, what most people used to think is if you build it, they will come. You don't have to market anything. Curtis is shaking his head. He already knows where I'm going with this. There was a time, like before the .com bubble, gazillion years ago, maybe, I don't know if even some of you are old enough to remember that. People were throwing money at you, and it was like a madhouse. That's not the way it is anymore. So if you build it, they will come is patently false. There is a process that you have to go through to refine your messages, and those messages turn into slide decks. They turn into, as we were saying before, bar pitches, elevator pitches. I can't tell you how many times people say to me, "So what do you do?" And sometimes I scramble and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So the more you practice what you do and who you are, that also is the same as what you need to do for your businesses or your ideas. So the first thing I want to talk about is your value proposition. Your value proposition is essentially what you do, who you do it for, and what you do for them. So something like I am a operational specialist who helps small and medium-sized businesses by teaching them how to better perform to reduce their expenses and increase their revenues. Does that make sense to everybody? You don't need to, we're not going to stop on this one because we're going to be actually integrating this process into the bar pitch. So while we're going through this, keep in mind, what is it you do? Who do you hope to do it for? And what is it you're going to be doing for them? Okay. And we'll reiterate that a little more strongly in a minute here. So there are two types of pitches, or two types of scenarios. Sorry, not pitches, pitch on the brain. There are painkillers and there are vitamins. A painkiller is a situation where it's urgent and you have an urgency to the situation. Vitamins are, yeah, it would be nice to have more vitamins in my life, but you know, there's no urgency. So when you're actually doing a pitch, you want to create a pitch that creates a sense of urgency, that creates a need for the painkiller, and not something that, oh yeah, I'd like to, well, that sounds like a kind of interesting project. Maybe somewhere down the line, I'd like to be involved. So you definitely want to make sure that when you are presenting yourself, you are presenting the painkillers approach, not the vitamin approach. So the way sometimes people look at that is, you know, give me painkillers right now because I broke my leg and it hurts. Where if I need vitamin D, I should probably get more kale. Maybe next time I'm at Costco, I will pick up some vitamins. So you see, you can create a pitch that's like, oh yeah, it would be really nice to help with that problem, try to solve that problem, but you know, it's not that urgent. Or, oh my God, the world is coming to an end. We got to solve the climate challenge, right? So that's the, you want the problems or the ideas to be ones that are solving the pain points of people's situations. Okay, the bar pitch. Ready, set, go. The bar pitch is actually a 20-second scenario. It means that you're sitting in a bar and someone says, "So, what do you do?" Okay, and you know, they also might be saying, you know, depending on what your scenario is, they may go, "What does your organization do?" So you could be at a networking event. This would be a good place for that as well. So, you know, at a networking event, sometimes it's great to talk to as many people as you can. And rather than spending a half an hour with it, you know, if there's a lot of people there, you don't want to spend a half an hour with 4 people. You want to spend 10 minutes with 20 if you can, so that you have more people you connect to, because as you connect to people, this gives you the opportunity to make contacts, to network, obviously, and to enjoy, maybe make connections that they go, oh, I know somebody who could use something like that. And that's the aha moments you want to do. The bar pitch is designed to help guide them quickly to who you are, so they could go, oh, wait, I know somebody who could help you. I know somebody, you know, like if you were looking for new employees and you said, you know, we do these things and we need help, and they could help you because now they have, in a nutshell, what you do. Okay, so what a bar pitch is in more graphic detail, it's your idea, your organization, your product, that goes in first. My idea, organization, product is a generic product or service that helps a buying audience do your value proposition. That's why the value proposition is important. Okay, so a couple examples so you can see how that would work. Sorry, clicking on the wrong thing. So Airbnb, their bar pitch could be, we are an online platform that helps homeowners earn money from the extra rooms in their house. Now, be aware, there's a little asterisk, know your audience. So if you are at a networking event where you are trying to hire people, so maybe you go to a networking event for coders and you're looking to hire coders, your pitch isn't going to be, to what you would be giving to the person who's buying your product. It would be a slightly different pitch. So Airbnb is also an online platform for travelers who want to have a more localized experience. So you see, it's very important that you know your product and your approach, and practice a few different bar pitches so that you know who you're talking to in your audience. Okay, so let me give you one more example, and then we're going to take a break, not a break from this, but a break from me talking, so that you can put together your own bar pitch. Slack, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Slack. It's an app that helps organizations communicate and share files more efficiently via instant messaging. So you can have two value propositions. In this particular case, they communicate and share and communicate more efficiently. So, I'm sorry, more efficiently. So that is not anything wrong with that. Just, keep it as concise as possible. Conciseness is a very important thing in your bar pitch. Okay, so back to the generic version. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write up your bar pitch, whether it's for your product, your idea, or your organization. Doesn't really matter. If it's your idea, you could say, my idea is a generic service or product that will help a particular group do a particular value proposition. My company's TWAH LLC. TWAH LLC is a consulting service that helps small and medium-sized businesses solve their operational problems. Excellent.
Hub 101 is a co-working space that helps entrepreneurs build and scale sustainable businesses.
We are to the elevator pitch. I'm sorry, I'm jumping through the slides. So the elevator pitch is a 60 seconds, give or take. You're in an elevator with a VIP and you only have 1 minute or a little less to get their attention and set up the next meeting. So it's the idea here is you're on the elevator and you see Bill Gates and you go, oh my God, it's Bill Gates. And I have an idea that Microsoft should purchase, right? So you have a minute to get their attention to make them go, yeah, contact my assistant, make an appointment type of thing. There are 3 components of an elevator pitch: the introduction, the problem, and the solution. So the introduction, who you are and what you do, and that's essentially your bar pitch. That's one of the reasons we work on that. Who you are and what you do, that's what your bar pitch was, or should have been. Okay, so that's your pro tip there. Anybody else have any pro tips they want to add? And let's move on and we can come back, we'll circle back to pro tips. The problem that you're proposing to solve, what is the challenge? Who has the challenge and why is it important? Just because something's a challenge to you doesn't mean it's a challenge to a lot of people. So you have to, like, if you really want something to be ultimately a business, having a challenge that's only 10 people's problems isn't the same as a challenge that's 100 million people have that problem. So and this is really relevant to when you're eventually pitching to a venture capitalist or an angel investor, or even your family and friends to get your initial family and friends round of investing. If there are more people that that have a particular problem, then that's more likely that their ears are gonna perk up and go, ooh, yeah, I know that I have that problem. Why is it important? This kind of circles back to the vitamin versus the painkiller situation. The urgency of the problem. Is it something that really should be solved like now? Or is it something that, well, yeah, if people get around to it, that's great. Another component of this, actually this is part of the solution, so I'll move on. Any questions on that concept? So after you've described who you are and then what you believe the problem is by using the what, who, and why, then what you want to do is present what your idea is. Your idea plus data meaning your concepts that you've studied on how to solve the problem equals your idea, product, or service. So you could essentially just say, this is what I do. Okay, we'll go back to what mine was. I'm the TWAH LLC is a business consulting firm who helps small and medium-sized business solve their operational problems. 50% of, or more than 50% of the companies out there are small and medium sized. It's probably, I think the number is actually higher than that. I think it's something like 60 or 70% of the companies in this country are small and medium sized businesses. All of them have the challenge of making sure they keep their expenses down and their revenues up. If they can get the tools they need to do that, then it's important because that helps them succeed. The more that the small and medium-sized business succeed, the better our economy works, the more jobs that are created. My idea is to, my service is to assist those companies in finding those technical solutions that make them create efficiencies to reduce costs, and also technical solutions to help them find and retain customers. Okay, is that clear as a concept? Because next it's your turn. So now I'm going to give you 4 minutes, maybe 5, to write up a quick couple of lines that would, as my example was, who you are, what your problem is you're trying to solve, and what your service or product or idea is. take what you have and then refine it. And again, know your audience. People say practice, but I also say refine. I think those are two really important things to be aware of when you're building these things. Who you're talking to is so important. If I showed you guys my Word document with my bios in it, I have like 82 different paragraphs, and I never get rid of them because I never know when I might need to go back to that one I wrote like 3 years ago, or take copy and paste it and put it at the bottom and then redo it to be my next bio, which is a similar idea, right? These are, you know, when it's about you, it's your bio. When it's about your company, it's your pitch. So here's a pro tip. Whatever you come up with for your elevator pitch should be pass the mom test. And that this is not my test, it's a bunch of pros that I've talked to. And that just means that somebody who doesn't know you or somebody who knows you, would they be able to share your, what if your mother's best friend said, so what's Betsy doing now, right? Or what's Christina doing now? She could tell them, she could recite your elevator pitch for them. Because, you know, you've shared it with her so many times, she's like, she's working for you. Once your elevator pitch is concise and clear enough that somebody else can deliver it for you, then you're right, you're almost there, you're there, right? I want to say almost, because even then you should still be refining. So I don't think this is a living, breathing thing. You should be constantly looking at it and reevaluating it. All right, we're going to skip the game. So let me get to what the game was about. Recency and primary. Be aware that people recall the beginning and the end of things. And the middle, they kind of fade out. And this is more important in a longer presentation. I don't think anyone's going to fade out in 67 seconds, but it's why the problem should be in the middle, because if the problem is urgent enough, it'll grab their attention and keep them listening from the beginning to the end. Most of us will go, you know, and we look off and now, what did you say? You know, so it's important to try to keep their attention span the entire time. How we do this is say just enough that the audience is begging for the next question. So the introduction is to pique their interest. The problem is to scare them or elicit an emotional response like, oh yeah, we got to do that. Doesn't have to just scare them. Scare means an emotional response. And then the solution be like, oh my God, yes, we absolutely need that. So I don't know if you guys are aware that, do you guys know the OXO tools? Those really cool tools that fit in your hand really nicely? They were designed by a guy whose wife had such bad arthritis, she couldn't peel her carrots. So he had somebody who needed, you know, who couldn't hold the thing because her hand was so stored. So that's why they're so fat and why they're so squishy and soft. It was easier for her to hold that and peel her carrots. And the guy's worth $1 gazillion now because he was just solving this problem that was really painful for his wife. And the solution wowed a lot of people. I own a bunch of them. And then they expanded into other products, but they all started with a pure carrot peeler. And your product and idea can start that same way. It's a problem that scares people or has a pain point, and your solution starts to wow people. Okay, so we're just going to go through the pitch. There's not anything specific to the pitch that you're going to be doing today, but just some knowledge. So the pitch is usually about 5 minutes. I've been to pitches where they're 5 minutes, they're 2 minutes, they're 3 minutes. I mean, every different pitch venue has a different amount. We settle on 5 just because that's good. If you're doing a one-on-one pitch, it's going to be longer. If you're doing a pitch competition, it could be a whole variety of minutes. So just pay attention. And then I'm of the school where you have a lot of slides and you pick and choose the ones to meet your audience and the event that you're participating in or the meeting you're participating in. So the pitch itself takes everything we've worked on already and then elaborates. So you take your bar pitch, your elevator pitch, which is already incorporated in already has the bar pitch incorporated, and now you add the gory details. This is when you start, you know, the guy goes, ooh, that sounds really interesting. I want to make sure I stay in better connection with my real estate clients. Yeah, I want to hear more. Now you start, and again, you don't turn open the tap of the fire hose, but you start to ease more of that water out. And then obviously if they say, yes, I'd like to have a presentation, then of course, you know, you should give them every detail that you are willing to give them. So let's just go quick over what it is. So your introduction is again, who you are and what you do. And then this gives you some questions that are good to have in your repertoire to think about answering, right? Why should we listen to you? Who does it help? Why is it important? How does it do what it does? That's your product. A little more detail on the product. How big is it? What caused it? Who is affected by it? Go into more detail. And this is where you might say 30 million people have this issue, right? There are 42 million realtors out there. I don't know what the real number is. I'm making that up. I know it's much higher than that or much lower. I don't know. But that's where you would then might start supplying numbers to really go, oh, wow, that's a huge market. Because depending on who you're talking to, the market is going to be an important component of what's the size of the market. Why is it important? Why should I care? What happens if we don't solve it? Those are the questions that you have to answer relative to urgency and marketability, market fit, sometimes referred to. Your product fits the market need. The solution, your idea, product or service, the proposed solution, how it will be implemented. You know, is it software? Is it hardware? Is it something that they have to buy and you mail out to them? Can they download it? You know, things like that. What are your unique data sets? And then the impact of your solution and so forth. Finally, some pro tips. Let's go over this real quick. Practice, practice, practice. Try the mom test in front of the mirror, the UPS guy, anybody else. And again, this is where I also say refine, refine, refine. After you practice it, you refine it. You practice it, you refine it. Add visuals. Do not put lots and lots of words. Like my one slide that you just were looking at, that's a horrible slide. Because I'm going to be giving you the deck and there's a good questions in there, that's the only reason it's there. For what you're doing, you should be using visuals and bullet points, and the bullet points should be very concise. Make them feel something. If you can make the audience laugh or cry or whatever, they're going to remember your pitch. And remembering your pitch means they remember you and your product. Okay, well, thank you. There's my email address, my LinkedIn account, and my company name, my company website. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or want anything else.